And go.
All right. So with missionary diplomacy, here's what you need to know. The U.S. will use force to do what is right. And by right, that means spread democracy, spread Christian values, stabilize regions. And in Woodrow Wilson, he's a dean of Princeton, he's the governor of New Jersey. He believes that the United States way is the best way. It's the only republic for 2,000 years, and it seems to have been doing pretty well for itself. It's God's on our side is basically the idea. It's American exceptionalism. All right, there's going to be the Mexican Revolution, and long story short, we're going to support a number of people, but eventually we're going to have to go after Pancho Villa, who attacked some of our people, and it's going to be the punitive expedition. There's also Nicaragua, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. Long story short, their countries are not stable. They keep putting basically dictators in place, and we throw our military in there to stabilize the region for democracy, remember, and also for some economic interests. Let's be real. So bottom line, if we don't like their government, we will overthrow them because this is our hemisphere. Moving over here to number 9, World War I officially begins in 1914 for Europe, but for us it starts in 1917. The causes of this are the Lusitania, unrestricted submarine warfare, the Sussex Pledge, the Zimmerman Telegram, and to make the world safe for democracy. We get involved in 1917, the same year that Russia is going to have the Russian Revolution, and it ends in 1918 when Germany agrees to an armistice. They don't surrender, they agree to an armistice. So let's go over here to the economy. Government regulation of the economy. Government is going to fix prices. They're going to have people start rationing, and you're going to have a group of people start moving north. African Americans are going to move to the north. It's the first Great Migration. The War Industries Board is going to supply war bonds. The Committee on Public Information is going to create propaganda. And so you have the income tax plus war bonds. It's going to make the United States a whole bunch of money. And because the government is regulating things, people are earning an honest wage. And guess what? There's not going to be a lot of strikes. So here I have an example of buy Liberty bonds. Sock it to the Kaiser. Where are we at? Number 11. In terms of civil liberties, Woodrow Wilson kind of falls short significantly. There's the Espionage and Sedition Acts, 2 separate bills, but they kind of get grouped together a lot of the time. Espionage means you can't interfere with the draft, you can't interfere with military operations, and sedition means you can't speak bad about the government. And so you're going to have people that speak out against the government, that interfere with the draft. Well, they're going to be locked up. One of those is Eugene V. Debs. Another guy is Charles Schenck. Charles Schenck says, resist the draft. He hands pamphlets out to people, says, don't sign up for the draft. This is unconstitutional. This war is wrong. He finds himself in jail. It goes to court, goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you know what? There was a clear and present danger. And so you, Charles Schenck, were wrong. You should not have done that. You will have to serve some jail time. Because during times of national crisis, your civil liberties go down. Even though we say in the United States that you have freedom of speech, if there's a national crisis, those civil liberties are going down, baby. All right? Number 13, we also invade Russia. It's the specter of communism. We don't trust Russia. And so we're trying to overthrow the Bolsheviks led by Vladimir Lenin. And so a lot of people don't know that we actually invade Russia as we are fighting World War I as well. Ultimately, you have the Treaty of Versailles and Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. It's a tragic story. We do not sign the Treaty of Versailles, nor do we agree to any of the 14 points, including the League of Nations. All right? The League of Nations was supposed to stop all future wars. It has 2 groups of 2 people that you should know about. Henry Cabot Lodge, the Republican, headed the Foreign Relations Committee, and Woodrow Wilson. This Woodrow Wilson is going to go around the country trying to get America to sign up for the League of Nations because he knows that the Republicans are totally against it. And ultimately, he's going to overwork himself, he's going to have a stroke, and he's going to be basically incapacitated for the next 2 years. Moving on here, in the interest of time, we've got the 18th Amendment and the 19th Amendment. These are the last of the progressive amendments. The 18th Amendment prohibits the sale, distribution, and the consumption of alcohol. It happens for a couple of reasons. One, it's made from wheat. Beer largely is made from wheat, and so you need wheat to support the war effort to feed the troops. 2, most German breweries were, well, they're German, and so that looks un-American. And number 3, it's the whole issue about when people drink too much, they behave in immoral ways. And so all 3 of those things grouped together, the fact that breweries are German, the fact that you need grain, and the fact that it leads to immoral behavior at times, groups together, the 18th Amendment gets passed. The 19th Amendment is for women's suffrage. You have suffragettes like Alice Paul, the National Women's Party, that is going to tie herself up. She's going to, outside the White House, she's also going to be force-fed. Her and the other radical groups eventually will lead the way for the 19th Amendment, something that women have been fighting for since 1848 at Seneca Falls. Now they're finally it's going to be realized. But important to note, not all women wanted women to vote, which sounds crazy today, but not all women agreed that it was the woman's place. Because remember, it's still the cult of domesticity. In the interest of time, last one here. Panic of 1819 is going to lead to the first Red Scare. There's going to be what are known as the Palmer Raids, where A. Mitchell Palmer is going to have his house bombed. A couple other people that are high-ranking officials are going to have their house bombed. And they're going to suspect, oh my gosh, there's labor strikes. It must be Comintern. It must be the communists infiltrating. So you've got strikes, and you also have race riots, because in 1919, when the economy is bad, the racial tension happens because people returning that don't have the jobs that they had during World War I are going to say, you know what, it's the black people's fault. Or some people say, oh, it's the communists' fault. So you mix all these things together. It's after World War I ends, for about 2 years there, it's kind of crazy in America. You've got the strikes happening, you've got labor unrest, you've got people freaking out about communism. But don't worry, the next president is Warren G. Harding, and we're going to go back to return to normalcy. We'll see what that's all about on the next installment. Have a good day, 8 pushers.